Welcome to another entry of my director's diary. And this is week 4, day 5. Woo, we finally made it to the end of the rehearsal session. So this is the final day of rehearsal. Stay tuned to hear about the run we had, as well as again revisiting and enhancing scenes and character work. So Friday was a very packed day. So this is the final day of rehearsals. If you have a 4-week rehearsal period, depending on your tech week, um, you might have some fit up days on the Monday and the Tuesday. Then you begin actual tech on Wednesday, Thursday, with possibly Friday being a dress and maybe first preview. Or if you have more additional sessions, you might have your first dress on Saturday and then first preview on Saturday evening. So we actually have a tech on Saturday. We have it tomorrow. And then we have another tech session, two tech sessions on Monday. So that's technically 4 or 5 tech sessions because we've got an extra one on Tuesday. Then we got a dress, and we finally open on Tuesday evening. So I had certain things I needed to clean up for Friday morning. They came in, did the usual 10 to 10:30. Then we resat down and revisited a scene to kind of deal with some line discrepancies, but also to give them a chance to kind of like get a better understanding of what they're about to do. Reblocked, and then also see, there's a challenge with the last 2 scenes of any play in that it always feels like they're the least rehearsed because we spent so much time in the first earlier scenes. So I had to make sure that this wasn't the case here. Did similar kind of deeper kind of work on what they were thinking and their intentions and that kind of thing, and reminding them about the kind of the importance and the high stakes. We then also needed to reblock a section because in the runs, remember we've been doing runs, certain things kind of were flagged up, so that needed to be embedded. But I had to also contend with some transitions, some very, very tricky transitions that I needed to make sure I can fix and clean up, which we did. But time is never on your side. Maybe what I should have done from 10 to 1 should have just been working with them and not give them that 10:30 10 to 10:30 window. I know it's only 30 minutes, but it's also important. But as usual, it's not just for the warm up, it's to account for any lateness. And lateness is something that I've kind of speak to the actors a lot. And you should always speak to them and remind them the importance of punctuality. Um, but that 10 to 10:30 kind of accounts for that as well. So we finished our morning session, managing to get through the sections that needed cleaning up and revisiting. And then afternoon we came back, and they were in costume, and we worked through those very tricky transitions. We had a very strong run, very, very good run. But it's also important to, well, I'd say it's important to leave the final day on a positive, right? So irrespective of how the run goes, um, just try to leave them feeling confident, especially if they're about to enter tech, or if you yourself feel like they need an additional session on the Saturday. But just try to kind of encourage them, keep them encouraging, because directing is more than just giving people notes or techniques or whatever. It's actually pastoral sometimes. It's about confidence building, giving them enough positive feedback that if you then pass on some, criticism, they can accept that, and it's not something that is the end of the world. So we needed to also have a pre-tech conversation with the stage manager, who spoke to them about what to expect in the tech sessions, their expectations as well, what is needed from them in regards to reminding them that actually it's more for the tech team because that's the only time they have the sound and the lighting and the set design to be finessed. So we needed to do that as well. Whilst all this is happening, I'm also kind of navigating a paper tech, what is known as a paper tech. I may have mentioned this in earlier entries, where you meet with the sound and lighting designer and just go through the cues that you have, so that by the time you arrive on tech, you're not kind of scrambling trying to find the nearest cues that match, that align. So we did that with the stage manager present. We tried to do as much of it as possible. And then at the same time, kind of dealing with some set work and some costume stuff. After our stage manager had the conversation with them, the actors then gathered, and I gave them specific notes. And again, this is a point in the rehearsal period where it's actually you're leaning more towards the positive, the things that went really well. It does something to actors' kind of mentality and their confidence. It really brightens them up. So try and kind of lean more into that than focusing on things that may not have gone well, because you also have tech and previews to kind of clean that up. You don't necessarily have tech. I'll talk more about tech once we do that tomorrow, but you don't, yeah, you have a little bit of time to, so don't kind of zone in too much on the things that didn't go well. Once that was finished, I spoke to them about previews and what's coming up, as well as performance weeks and what to expect. The previews as well as reviews. So what I do is, and I took this from Monique Tuco when I worked with her, and you ask the actors, what are your views on reviews, right? Some people read them, other people don't. Um, I encourage them not to read their reviews, but you can't stop people from doing what they want. But the reason I encourage them not to read is because, and I use my own lived experience, is you will end up trying to perform for the reviewers instead of for the actors on stage there with you. So what you want to do is you want to avoid that and read them after. Because I did a play once as an actor where I read loads of reviews, and you start thinking, oh, let me clean up this thing that they said I was lacking, right? Or they say something very good about you and you lean into that. And then I did another play, and for the first time, I didn't read the reviews, but there were other actors that did, and one in particular was really impacted by it. And I was so glad I hadn't read it, but I saw this is the reason why you shouldn't read reviews as an actor. So I encourage that. And of course, the reality is the theatre will have them plastered about if they're good. They will be talking about them. And if they're not good, you won't see them. And then you assume, oh, we're not doing good work. And the other actors as well. So just have the respect, remind them to have respect. If someone doesn't read them, don't bring them up in the dressing room or the theatre. But if you want to read them, feel free to. You as a director, on the other hand, you can do what you want, right? I read them as a director. Yes, it's frustrating if they're not, all great, but I don't have to be on stage every night. That's it. That's my show. Say goodbye. So whatever they say, nothing you can do about it. So that was that. And then I reminded them just how amazing they were and sent them off to have a good kind of restful evening before we begin our tech session tomorrow. So come back and hear more about how that went. And remember, direct, play, repeat. I'll see you soon.